You got your mic checks and everything?
All good. I killed yours for a minute because you were talking. It's fine. Once it starts, I'll put yours.
Mic check, mic check, mic check. 1, 2, 3. Everybody good? Cool. Good afternoon. Everybody ready? Okay, thank you all so much for joining us this afternoon. We've actually got a couple cases to brief you up on. One very interesting murder for hire case that we had working, and then this narcotics arrest happened this morning, so we figured we'd go ahead and brief you guys up on both. And then additionally, I'll have more details on the cockfighting ring arrest from last night, if anybody's interested in that as well. So let me get started with this mountain of drugs that are here in front of me. So this morning, our narcotics folks from our organized crime group developed information that this gentleman was going to be traveling through our county with a large amount of drugs in his possession. At 37 and Fair, they attempted, we had a uniformed marked unit attempt to make a traffic stop on him when he fled, thereby initiating a pursuit. They pursued him through our county and into Guadalupe County. When they reached the Guadalupe River in Guadalupe County, close to Seguin, the suspect bailed out of the vehicle and then was seen dumping a backpack into the Guadalupe River below. That backpack was retrieved, and they found what you see in front of us here, approximately 12.5 kilos, or about 25 to 30 pounds of a mix of drugs. So the drugs that you see in front of you are actually, they test positive for both fentanyl and for methamphetamine. So as a result of this, Lopez is being charged with manufacturing, delivering controlled substance penalty group 1, hence the methamphetamine, and evading arrest, detention with motor vehicle. Those are both felony offenses. The dollar value of the drugs in front of us is about $250,000 based upon what we see here. Now, if that goes, if they do what typically drug dealers do, is divide that up into smaller quantities and then cut that up, using adulterants, they can actually double, triple the value of this in some cases, depending upon how weak they cut it out. Now, with regard to the mix of fentanyl and methamphetamine, there's several different theories that could apply as to why there's two different drugs being mixed here. One of the things, and we teach a class here on fentanyl, one of the things that could be an explanation as to why there's methamphetamine mixed with fentanyl is that many times the folks that sell these drugs will utilize fentanyl to drive the addiction. Fentanyl being the more addictive of the two drugs, what they'll do is they'll mix other drugs with fentanyl in order to make it more addictive. If you can believe it or not, we've all heard about the dangers of something like crack cocaine. Well, we know for a fact that fentanyl is actually 50 times more addictive than even crack cocaine. So hence the reason why they utilize it, they mix it in to make it a more addictive and more potent drug, which of course it's that much more of a chance that it could kill you. 0.2 milligrams of fentanyl is what's recognized, pretty universally recognized to be a fatal dose of fentanyl. During our presentation on fentanyl, what we show to show you what 2 milligrams of fentanyl looks like is we'll actually show a penny blown up, and then right next to you see how small the digits are on a penny. 2 milligrams of fentanyl actually is much smaller than even the digits on the year on the penny. So it doesn't take very much of this stuff to kill you. Certainly when you're looking at 25 pounds of it sitting here, this is more than enough to kill a sizable portion of even a county as large as Bexar County. So we're absolutely thankful that our organized crime group, working with our partners at DPS and a couple of the federal agencies, I believe even the Guadalupe County Sheriff's Office helped us out with this. So it was an all-hands-on-deck thing that resulted in this and the charges of this suspect is facing now. Esta mañana nuestros oficiales de la unidad de crimen organizada tuvieron información que este sospechoso iba pasando por nuestro condado con una gran cantidad de drogas en su posesión. Ya cuando ellos intentaron pararlo, un carro de patrulla intentó parar al sospechoso. Él huyó a alta velocidad y nuestros oficiales lo persiguieron hasta el condado de Guadalupe, cerca de Seguin. Ya llegando allí, el sospechoso aventó una mochila al río Guadalupe. Nuestros oficiales encontraron la mochila, la sacaron y encontraron lo que está enfrente de mí ahorita, aproximadamente 12 kilos de metanfetamina con fentanilo. Esta droga es posible que la mixtearon con el intento de hacer la droga más potente. Muchas veces lo que nosotros sabemos de esta droga de fentanilo es que muchas veces hace a una droga más adicta. Entonces, nosotros pensamos que es lo que ellos hicieron en mezclar estas dos drogas. Ahora les damos las gracias a nuestros otros socios, con las agencias federales que estaban trabajando con nosotros, tanto como la Policía Estatal y la Oficina del Sheriff del Condado Guadalupe, que todas las agencias trabajaron juntas para arrestar a este sospechoso y seguir esta investigación. Any questions on the fentanyl?
Yeah, you said that your organized crime team got word that this individual would be in the area. Who is he or why is he on?
Well, from what we can tell, he's a drug mule. Obviously, we know that he knows more than what he's letting on. It's our job to try to get that information from him in hopes that, we can climb the ladder. A quantity of drugs like this, I'm certain that there's a cartel tie, probably not too far beyond this gentleman here. And so our intent is always to climb that ladder and try to get as high up in that organization as we can, again, in hopes of disrupting and dismantling these big criminal organizations. That's the way you do them. We know that this guy's probably not Chapo Guzman. He's not our drug kingpin. But we know that he probably knows a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy, and on down the line, up the line, I should say.
What led you to him? How did y'all?
Well, we never really go into too many details on these cases because that kind of thing is somewhat dangerous. But we have a variety of ways of getting information, and our next case we'll talk about just that. But anytime that we're able to develop this information, we act on it, and we'll go off. And our overall goal is to put the bad guys in jail and get the drugs off the street. In this instance, we accomplished both.
Usted decía que él iba a pasar por el condado. ¿Sabemos de dónde venía exactamente él, desde un origen, y cuál podría haber sido su destino final?
Sabemos que venía de otra parte del estado, pero ahorita estamos tratando de averiguar todo eso, de dónde iba viniendo, se paró en algunas otras partes antes de llegar, iba a otro lugar después de esto. Nosotros en todo eso nos tenemos que fijar. So we know that he was coming from another part of the state, but at this point, we have to determine, what was going on there before he arrived here. Were any stops made? Was he going on somewhere else beyond that? At this point, we don't know, but we're trying to figure out to try to piece together who else he may have had dealings with. Was there another load like this dropped off 10 miles away? We just, at this point, don't know.
¿En algún momento declaró que iba a hacer con eso, si la iba a vender aquí en San Antonio o en otro lado?
Nosotros pensamos que la iba a vender, esta droga entera la iba a vender así, pero por ahorita nosotros tenemos que averiguar realmente qué es lo que iba a hacer. You had a follow-up.
So this chase was cross county. How long was the chase? Luckily no injuries, right? But did it ever get to a dangerous point there?
Well, anytime that you engage in a high-speed pursuit, obviously there's a risk associated with that. For us, we've got to weigh the benefit to the community versus the risk of something bad happening. That's why we train so hard on our pursuit policies. That's why we have things like helicopters to assist us. If a helicopter can take over a pursuit, we can pull back and hopefully the guy will relax thinking that he's not being pursued. So for us, it's always a calculated risk. I can tell you definitively, this drug would have killed somebody had we let it get out into the wrong hands, without a doubt. I don't know if that somebody would have been one person or 100 people based upon the amount of drugs that we're dealing with. So that's always going to be one of the things that we've got to weigh against the risk. It's always a calculated risk in everything that we do. But thankfully, everything worked out in this instance.
¿Qué es lo que pasa con estas drogas después de que ustedes las
Nosotros ahorita estas las tenemos que guardar, tenemos un edificio donde nosotros guardamos toda la evidencia después de los procesos de la corte de este sospechoso, ya cuando ya no llega a ser, cuando ya no es evidencia en ese caso criminal, entonces ya de ahí la podemos destruir, y es lo que vamos a hacer. Pero ese proceso se toma varios años antes de llegar a ese punto. Pero las quemamos, las drogas las quemamos.
Just one more time,
Yes,
the
sir.
amount of drugs that are here
We're looking at about 12 and a half kilos of cocaine, which is about between 25 and 30 pounds. I'm sorry, not cocaine. Methamphetamine and fentanyl, my apologies. 25, between 25 and 30 pounds. And, you know, so that's quite a sizable amount. Okay, thank y'all, and we'll move on to the next one. We can always come back to this one if y'all have follow-up questions. This next case is the murder for hire case that we want to talk to y'all about. It's been going on for the last couple of days. So this first suspect here is an inmate within the Bexar County Jail. He's been here on a charge of aggravated robbery for some time. Inmate Adrian Farias. So the other day y'all may have seen where we were in Commissioner's Court talking about us building up our intel capabilities. We just received a $2.7 million grant to finish building out our intelligence gathering capabilities within the Bexar County Jail. One of the questions that the commissioners asked us is what kind of things can you do with an intel network within the jail? Well, this case is exactly that. We have an intel group here that's already here, comprised of both law enforcement personnel, but also detention side personnel. Their job is to search the cells. We've got to search for any signs of contraband. We listen in on jail phone calls from time to time. They develop informants sometimes within the jail setting as well. So anything going on with regard to the jail, it may affect the outside world, or vice versa. There may be something going on in the outside world that may be happening inside the jail. Say, for example, an escape plot or something along those lines. Our intelligence group is tasked with gathering that intelligence and then doing whatever needs to get done to prevent that from happening and holding people accountable. In this instance here, we had a deputy, a detention side deputy from our intel group, listening to inmate phone calls. He heard what he believed to be some details of a murder for hire plot. Somebody was trying to hire an inmate to hire somebody else to commit some sort of a murder out in the outside world. We started backtracking and finding out that this gentleman here, Adrian Daniel Farias, 36 years of age, he was here for a case of aggravated robbery. What we gathered was happening is that this suspect was trying to enlist the help of other inmates to find someone to kill a witness in his aggravated robbery case in the outside world, again in hopes that at the very least maybe scare this person into not testifying, but in a worst case scenario maybe he kills this witness and there goes his case, or at least that's in his estimation, no witness, no crime. And so he enlisted the help of inmate Raymond Garza. He was also an inmate here in the jail. He in turn contacted a David Torres outside the facility to conduct this murder for hire on this witness. While all of that was going on, Veronica Herrera, our next suspect, she's actually a girlfriend of inmate Adrian Farias, if I'm correct on that. She's actually a girlfriend. My understanding he's got several, but a girlfriend of inmate Adrian Farias. She was facilitating this, meeting with some of the folks that are involved here, certainly a part of this plot moving forward. The next slide. Aaron Sean Johnson. Now, aside from having approached the other two, Adrian Farias, our original inmate, actually approached this inmate as well, who was already here in here, and with the hopes of, quote unquote, scaring the victim and possibly burning her car for the price of $1,500. This inmate does admit to facilitating a meeting with Veronica Herrera and an unknown male in the outside world. So it is possible that there may be other arrests in connection with this case, but at present, these 5 people are who are being charged. The inmates that were already incarcerated on another charge, we're actually adding on charges of, as the slides say, engaging in organized criminal activity, and then retaliation. With regard to the young lady and the young man that were not current inmates at the time, these are new charges for them. But at present, everybody's facing at least the charge of engaging in organized criminal activity, along with the retaliation charge. For me, I'm a firm believer that had this intelligence deputy not been conducting just proactive monitoring of inmate phone calls, not learned what the slang means, because these guys don't just say, hey, I want you to kill my girlfriend and I'm gonna pay you $1,500 to do it. They say, they talk in code many times, they talk in slang many times. And of course, our deputies are very, very good at listening to these calls, figuring out what's being said, and then backtracking through a series of calls and finding out that it turns out this guy was trying to kill a witness in his case. So they just did a really good job. At present, was just talking to our newest chief, Chief Frevoletti in the back there. She actually runs this group about putting these people all in for an award. And she says, well, I just gave them an award for something else. So another award's not going to hurt anybody. And so I just say that to say that we've got a very good intelligence group, super proud of them, as we are of all of our deputies here. But this intel group, there is no doubt in my mind, they absolutely saved a life with what they did here, and I'm super proud of them for that. Esta tarde nosotros estamos dando información tocante un caso de asesinato a sueldo, que esto es algo que pasó hace unos cuantos días. Uno de nuestros oficiales de la unidad de inteligencia, él estaba escuchando llamadas de los reos que están dentro de la cárcel. Él escuchó algo que le parecía a él que alguien estaba hablando, un reo estaba hablando con alguien fuera de la cárcel, de la posibilidad de ocupar a alguien, contratar a alguien para matar a una persona. Ya ellos empezaron a averiguar qué estaba pasando. Lo que podían averiguar es que Adrián Farías, un hombre de 36 años de edad que estaba aquí como reo, estaba intentando matar un testigo en un caso de él de robo con agravantes que él se estaba enfrentando. Él habló con otros dos reos. También su novia de él estaba hablando con alguien más fuera de la cárcel. Entre todos, son 5 sospechosos, entre todos estaban tratando de poner de acuerdo, de matar o cuando menos asustar este testigo para no ser testigo contra el caso este. Yo no tengo duda que esta unidad le salvaron la vida a este testigo solamente con hacer su trabajo bien en juntar inteligencia y luego ya de ahí tratando de averiguar qué es lo que está pasando. Le salvaron la vida a este testigo. Any questions?
One more time, can we go through the inmates and the 5 people in the
Sure.
section?
Start at the first. Oh, here you got him here. Adrian Daniel Farias. He's the original suspect that was here on the aggravated robbery charge. He contacted the next guy, inmate Raymond Garza, who was already here on an unrelated charge. Contacted him to see if he knew anybody that could kill somebody to stop them from being a witness. He in turn contacted this next guy, David Torres, who was not an inmate. He was out in the free world at this time. He was agreeing to do the hit, so to speak. The next person, Veronica Marie Herrera, she is a love interest of inmate Adrian Farias. She was in the outside world, but was doing her best to facilitate this murder for hire as well. And then the 5th person, inmate Aaron Johnson, 51 years of age, also currently an inmate here. Aside from this line where he's contacting those guys, Farias actually went directly to him and attempted to get him to quote unquote scare and burn up the car of the victim in this case, the witness in this case, for the price of $1,500. All said and done, these 5 folks are facing the same organized crime ring. It should be noted that for an organized crime charge to work, not all 5 of the people charged here have to know about each other. So in other words, to me, the way I picture this in my mind, there's actually two different murder plots going on, and these people over here don't all necessarily know about these people over here. But the fact that they were all working together, whether they knew it or not, leads to the organized crime case and supports it.
One more time for Aaron Sean Johnson. He's an inmate, but he was being asked to scare or burn.
He was being asked to quote unquote scare the victim and quote unquote burn her car. But I don't know that means scare or not. From what we're able to gather, some bad things were about to happen to this witness.
And Aaron was outside.
Aaron was a inmate in the jail. Mhm. Farias, Garza, and Johnson are all inmates. David Torres and Veronica Herrera, at this time were not inmates. They are now, but at the time of this murder for hire plot, they were not inmates.
In executing the arrest of the people who were not inmates at the time, any issues there, or are they cooperating now with the investigation?
No, well, there was no issues to speak of. They were all taken into custody without incident, and, you know, I guess I can't go into any detail on whether they're cooperating or not, but it certainly would behoove them to. I could tell you that. Any other questions? Okay, any questions on the arrest from last night at the cockfighting ring? No? Okay. All right, thank you all so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
We'll send you a WeTransfer link of all the graphics, so no need to wait for any airdrops. Thank you. If you need any B-roll, it's gonna be about 5 minutes max, and then we're gonna have to head out. So if you need any B-roll,